Alright. No, not alright. We're reporting on an L here. I had my first ever fail on a CPA exam. I am thankful this came closer to the end of my course, as this would be quite discouraging if it came earlier in the course. Imagine if your first or second ever subject you got whacked with a fail. An L. Quite discouraging. This is one of the toughest subjects, so it's not super surprising. In fact, I knew I failed leaving the exam. I was more so annoyed that I spent so much time studying for this, and I sacrificed a lot of work on the rest of my life for this, including draining my annual leave from my second job, my part-time role at the supermarket, meaning there are less weekends I can take off work. I gave up weeks of gym and had to diet for about a month afterwards to reverse all the dietary damage I did to myself during this study period. I didn't work on my brand at all during the exam period. See, I'm happy to make those sacrifices for a drastic bump in my career stat, but now all of that was to waste. Or was it? See, although I did spend a lot of time on this, the exam taught me something that I kind of already knew, but it only hit me hard this time. So, lesson 1, index is important. I mean, I already knew this from my first ever CPA exam, but this further rang true in this exam. Having good notes helps you answer the multiple choice questions in the exam, since you can flip to your notes and often you can have the right answer right there. At the very least, I still have that index I worked on, so I won't need to redo that. Unless they change the course, I should be fine. If they do change the course content, then I'm fucked for next semester. Lesson 2. Do the questions in the study guide/textbook rather than what knowledge equity gives. Although I do find their questions helpful in learning the topic, the fact is the questions asked on the exam are much more similar to what's in the actual textbook instead of the quizzes given by knowledge equity. In this particular exam, I recall 2 questions that were in the textbook that I don't recall being in the knowledge equity seminars. I only just so happened to have one of those questions in the index, which I managed to find during the exam, and the other I had to search for after the exam. I was like, what is this amortization schedule thing? And then I searched the PDF version of the book later that night and found a table in the textbook that was very similar to the exam question. So basically, focus on the textbook questions, then use knowledge equity as a supplement to that, not vice versa, which is the mistake I made in the past, but that mistake finally caught up to me now. This was a well overdue bill I was avoiding paying, but now that bill has come due. Lesson 3. Slowly sprinkling in study over the semester. This sounds super obvious, and in fact, it's stuff you probably heard in high school, but my original theory was just to cram towards the end of the semester, and this had paid off in the past, but again, the overdue bill has caught up with me. So, going forward, I'll have a designated night for study, as opposed to having my spare nights off gym set for this brand. I'll designate one of them to studying. Not sure if I'll make that Monday or Friday night, depends on when I record voiceovers, maybe it'll fluctuate, but either way, I'll spread it out, especially since I have my game plan, just do the textbook questions. That way, they can slowly become ingrained into my knowledge, the same way I've ingrained nutrition, human anatomy, the stock market, etc. into my brain. I didn't cram any of that, I slowly exposed myself to those over time. This worked well. The reason I, and most others, don't usually have this approach to studying for our formal education is formal education has a time limit. We have an exam deadline. I never had an exam deadline with learning nutrition, or human anatomy, or stocks, commodities, foreign exchange, etc. So slowly introducing this knowledge should work. Plus, it'll avoid a massive cram towards the exam date, meaning I won't need to go off the wagon with the gym thing, I won't need to drain my annual leave from my second job, I might be able to do some work on the brand. Either way, I won't need to have that massive stress load during the exam period. I've had enough of those in my life. Lesson 4. Join WhatsApp groups. There's a dedicated WhatsApp group for each subject. They're pretty inactive most of the time, except for the few weeks leading up to exams and on the day results come out. But more often than not, you can ask a question relating to the subject, and someone in there will answer it for you. Same with Facebook groups, so join those too. So, took an L, but it was well overdue. I was stressing over passing my CPA by the end of 2023, as I thought that pay rises would be dependent on it, but that's not the case. So there is less pressure on getting it now. I'll still obviously gun for it, but there's no urgent time limit now. And pay raises were also urgent due to my real estate purchase, but the land development is being severely delayed, so now that's even more time I have on my side, meaning less pressure to get the CPA license. But all of that will be discussed on an upcoming video, my 2023 half-year update on my life. Stay tuned. Well, unless you're a CPA student who only wants to know what I learned by failing this exam. If you want to stick around, I'd love to have you as a viewer, but if not, hope this helps, and see you later.